Let's take a look at the new patent drafting tools in ClaimMaster. These tools let you automatically turn draft method claims into other patent application sections and figures using natural language processing. You'll be able to generate flowcharts, figures, corresponding descriptions, and other sections of your patent application on the fly. The automatic text generation is based on very flexible templates that support annotations and variables, so that you can further customize the results to your preferences. We've also made it easy to preview and edit the generated text before it's inserted into the application, and to turn existing applications and figures into the new templates. In general, there are quite a few tools here that we have available. We have the ability, basically the new features will add capability to clone method claims into other statutory claim types. You also will be able to automatically generate application summary from the existing claims, generate an abstract, generate flowcharts and the corresponding descriptions in the document, and also generate figures based on the existing library of figures that you can configure within ClaimMaster very quickly to import existing figures into the tool and then keep reusing them to sort of build up a library of the figures so you can just kind of generate on the fly. We also have like a workflow for basically quickly moving through different steps of the application generation process, so that you can very quickly go through and generate different portions of the spec sort of in a guided path. So here I have an open document with a few sample method claims here. We'll presume that these were already drafted, and now you want to turn this into a more formal patent application. So here are some of the claims. We have two independent claims. They're quite similar to each other. We just pulled it from some published patent, and a few dependent claims as well. So first I would go to patent drafting tools within ClaimMaster, and then I would click on the generate application shell. So here you have a choice from different application shells. So again, this is all template based shells that you can configure within ClaimMaster. We have configured a few as an example, but basically a shell is just a sort of a sample document that has different replacement fields in it, and some of the basic boilerplate, the title and different sections. It also will have some special replacement fields, for inserting the claims, abstract, specification. These ClaimMaster will use these fields to basically populate the rest of the document. If you ever use our shells feature, you'll be familiar how the replacement fields work. Let's say I want to use the first sample application. I will then also specify to copy the claims from the open document. Click on the generate document. So ClaimMaster will create a new shell, and also take you to the next step. It already inserted the claims from the open document head into the shell. So from now on, it will keep working on this existing shell, and this is where it's going to be adding new portions that it automatically generates. So here I have a choice to, the next step is to generate the claims. I'm assuming I'm starting out with a method claim that I want to also create some additional claims, such as system or maybe device claims. And again, all these cloning templates, they're configurable in ClaimMaster, so you can create your own, and I'll get in a little more detail about it in maybe other portion of the video. But basically here, as a first step, you would specify which claims you want to clone. So let's say I want to just clone one set of method claims, and you can preview the claims as you hover over, so you can see which ones you actually want to insert. So let's say I wanted to, clone claims 1 through 4. I want to generate system claims and maybe a CRM claim. So these are two separate templates, and maybe I want the CRM to go first. So I would push it up a little bit. So that's the first claim that will be generated, and I will create another system, or maybe a device example, right? So what will happen now is that it detects that the very first, you have 7 claims here, so the next claims that will be inserted will be claim 8. So that's the first starting number. Maybe I want the preamble to start with an apparatus rather than device. You can just directly type in the device name here. As you can see, it automatically got recalculated. So now I have 8 through 15 claims that have been cloned. And when it closes the claims, it's quite intelligent. It figures out, it conjugates every verb correctly, and then it sorts the headers and all this other information, calculates claim numbers, and the spacing is preserved, and tabs, all this stuff is actually preserved in the clone claims. So once I'm done with this and I'm okay, you can make the changes directly into the preview window for all of the drafting tools, but let's say I'm okay with these edits. I will just insert the claims into the document. And you could see that the claims have now been inserted into the document following the existing claims. We can follow the workflow. So once you insert the claims, you just keep clicking next steps. It will bring up the little workflow widget here. And here you can specify the next step of the document generation. So you'll move on to the summary section generation. Start, it will bring up the tool for generating the summary. So again, you can pick one or multiple dependent or independent claims for the summary. So let's say I wanted to generate the summary for all of the claims. So we have all the different method and apparatus claims that we have in the claim set, and here's the summary that was automatically generated. Again, this is based on the template, so you just pick whichever template you want. And then all of these claims have been converted to prose using natural language processing techniques. So each limitation is a separate sentence, and you have quite a few options in terms of the setup to make sure that language flows naturally. So when someone reads it, actually will not be easy to tell that it was a machine generated rather than a human wrote it. And then you will just insert this into the document again. Move on to the next step, generating an abstract. Same idea. Here you would just pick one of the claims. So let's see which one I want. Let's say I want to use apparatus claim as the basis for the abstract. So here is the claim. It does say that it exceeds the 150 word limit. I can have some modifications here. I can actually make the modifications directly in this window. They'll be propagated into the final output. Pick the different template maybe. Okay, so I've generated the abstract based on one of the claims I've also generated. I will insert it into the document, then click on the next steps, and then I move on to the generation of flowcharts and their corresponding descriptions. All right, so here for flowcharts, typically these are generated from the method claims. So here you have the choice to generate the flowchart from one or more independent method claims. Let's say I just want to select the independent method claims. So actually we'll generate two separate flowcharts, one based on each of the independent claims, but I can add more steps through dependent claims to each of the charts as well if I wanted to. So you would specify, for example, the figure number. So let's say the first chart will be number, let's say 4, and step will be 5. So each box will be numbered with a step of 5, and the next one will be figure 5, and again each step will be 5. So here I see the preview of each of the flowcharts that will be generated. Again, each of the limitations in the claim got converted to sort of a sentence format. The verbs have been properly conjugated in the beginning, and it also inserted the steps in the beginning of each. So this is just a preview. This is actually how the chart will look once you generate it. And then again, for each of the generated charts, as you switch here between different tabs, you have the ability to pick different templates, generate the description. You can specify some additional settings, like for example apparatus versus device here, or maybe some other device name that you wanted to use. These are automatically pre-populated for you, but you can type in your own if you want and pick a device number. Let's say it's device 500. So the preview gets automatically populated. And here you can see that, for example, for figure 5, which is based on claim 6 here, a description of each of the steps has been prepared. Again, it flows naturally. Then the templates allow you to basically specify how this preview will get generated within the tool. All right, so you can insert the descriptions into the document. So the descriptions have been inserted into the document at this point. So the summary is already there, and the flowchart descriptions have been inserted as well for the two figures. And then you can also generate the flowcharts. Let's say I want to generate them in PowerPoint format, and then the box numbers appear outside, the step numbers appear inside of the individual boxes. And if you specify the directory here, then all of this will be saved in this location of that directory, but you can just directly have the tool open them up for you, and you'll see the charts that are generated. So that's one of the charts I generated. Here is another flowchart based on the 2 claims I've selected. All right, so I've generated the flowcharts. I've generated their descriptions that have been inserted into the specification. Next, I will click on the next steps, and I will move on to adding figures and descriptions. It's a final step. So at this point, you have access to the library of predefined figures within ClaimMaster. So normally, the way you would do this is you would take some of your existing figures and maybe descriptions and insert them into ClaimMaster. It's very easy to do. We have like a workflow for inserting them. Basically, you just cut and paste into the tool, and the software will basically preserve the part numbers in the figures, but whenever you provide the new number for the figures, everything, the description and the figures themselves will be renumbered correctly. So for example, here are a few sample ones, and you can also specify groups, so you can generate multiple figures at the same time as part of the group. So let's say I had a predefined group which included 2 figures here. This is here you have a list of all the different figures that are available in the library that you would configure, and you can filter it. Let's say you just wanted the hardware ones, so you could just click on the filter. It will only show the hardware ones. You can select multiple figures from the ones that actually will generate and form them into groups and store these groups together within the tool, so the next time you can access the group once at a time. So this way, you know, rather than like having to individually specify each figure and go from the ones from the library to the one that will generate, you'll just pick a group and automatically populate the window for you. So let's say I wanted to add one more figure here. We'll just click on this arrow. So this is this shows you all the 3 figures that will be generated by ClaimMaster, right? This group here. So you could see here the 3 tabs now, and each figure you can preview the overall sort of figure in this little tab here as you click through it. And for each figure, you have the description as well here, the preview of the description. So, and also the brief figure description is generated, and the full figure description is generated as well. All right, so the key here is that each figure obviously has a number and has the part numbers, and typically there's a scheme for how the part numbers are numbered, you know, when describing a figure. Typically it's a 3, 4, maybe 5-digit number. It doesn't have to be figure 1. You would, for each figure, you could specify, for example, it could be, you know, 5. So everything gets renumbered. So if you specify 5 for this, the figure and all the part numbers inside will be shifted as well. So you go to the next one, it will become, let's say you want to make it 6, and the next one will make it 7. So now you have 3 figures, all the corresponding descriptions have been shifted as well. You can make some changes directly in the preview, and then you can insert them into the document. So you can generate both the figures and the descriptions that will be inserted in the shell. As part of your settings, as part of generating the library of the figures, you can store not only regular text, but rich text and annotations, variables. Sort of last second changes could be resolved at the time of the insertion. So this is a very powerful tool, because this way, let's say you have some variance between different figures, but also you can have some variables that will prompt the user to sort of finalize some numbers or some language at the time when the figure actually is generated. And all this is configurable within the settings. So let's say I were to insert this into the figure. This was part of the template for a particular figure, so it gives you a choice to, for example, you know, pick between a boss line via or connection. So you can okay that. The software can also insert tables, formulas, and other information in rich text format into the document. Comments, you know, highlights, things like that. So it can handle not just plain text, but essentially any type of word formatting. So all of this was inserted as part of inserting these templates into the document. And then you can also generate the figures as well. So you see the numbers have been changed, and based on the number you've assigned in the preview. So this was figure 7, so this became figure 7. This was figure 6, so everything got renumbers to 6. And then Here, this was figure 5, so everything got renumbered to 511, 520, 540, and so forth. So here you have your figures now. You've inserted everything into the document. You're essentially done with all the steps at this point. So let's see what we have here. We have base document with the summary section. You have the description of the figures you've generated automatically. You have flowcharts that have been described. You also have the cloned claims and the abstract. So as the last step, we've added the tools to also kind of finalize the formatting at this point. And you can add paragraph numbers to the specification. Let's say I want to bold them, skip the headers. Okay, so I've also added the paragraph numbers while also skipping the existing headers in the document. So there you go. You have about maybe 30% of the specification drafted, 20-30%, based on reusing the existing figures and cloning the claims and generating the summary section. So you still obviously have to go and draft the rest of the specification that deals with the sort of the core of the invention. But the all of the boilerplate stuff has been automatically generated and adjusted based on your initial claim set. All of these transformations on the claims and the rest of the specification is controlled with templates within the patent drafting tools. So all of the templates are stored within a single XML file. So you could have multiple basically setting files, different template files for different clients potentially, or you could just set up multiple templates within the single file. But let's say if you wanted to have a shared environment where multiple attorneys have access to several different repositories of templates for different clients, and some would have access to all of them and some only to a few, you for example could set up all of your templates on a shared drive where everyone loaded from. And then have your own personal templates as well stored locally on your machine. So we have templates for figures, for flowcharts, for claim cloning, summary generation, abstract, and the actual document shell. So the figures, basically you specify the location of the figure and then some settings for it. So this is the preview of the standard figure. It just basically you store the location of a file where it's located, and then the index to the page that particular figure is located within the file. So this way you can point to a single file but have multiple pages referenced as separate templates. You don't have to have multiple files for each image. You can have a single file and just reference different location within each file. And then for figure description, you just provide the description that will go in the brief description of the figures, and also the description that you can copy from the document itself. So if you were to add this template, you can just right click on this, and then you have the option to basically insert selected document text. So you just select something in the document, and then you can click on this and insert it into the template and store it as part of the template. And it will retain all the different annotations to the extent you have any sort of comments or highlighting in the document. This will be copied into the template as well. Or you can just automatically insert them directly into the tool here. You can also insert variables that will prompt the user to sort of finalize the values for certain variables or the names at the time of the text insertion into the document. You can also insert selection menus. We have quite a few explanations in our manual, so if you have more questions, we can certainly help you work through the setup of the template. So you can make your modifications here, and then you accept the edits, and basically this is how the templates are stored. We have also templates for generating flowcharts. Again, the flowcharts have certain rules about how claims get converted, independent claims, how they get converted to prose format, and also the same for dependent claims. Also, we have templates for setting up claim cloning, how you would basically go from a method claim to a device claim or to a system claim. This is all fairly straightforward. There are a few replacement fields within each template that will be automatically populated by the tool, but you have the control about how the rest of the claim looks, including the spacing between different limitations and so forth. So try to make it as easy as possible to basically go between different types of claims. Also, we have similar rules for generating the summary of the patent application based on the selected independent and dependent claims, selecting the abstract, generating the abstract, and also we have settings for generating the shell, which basically just point to the shell document. So that's the basic idea. You can easily duplicate these rules. We have buttons for basically adding and duplicating the templates. So it shouldn't take too long to set up the templates, but once you do set them up, you have quick access to all these different tools. And if you want to go back different types of claims, if you want to clone the claims, or if you want to insert a new figure and don't have to renumber anything by hand, you can just automatically generate it within ClaimMaster. So hopefully a huge time saver for folks who will do a lot of repeat drafting of patent applications.